Warning: what every American needs to know about Canadian banks. If you are a U.S. taxpayer with assets in Canada, this is a development you should be following closely, especially if you have not been reporting your offshore accounts to the Internal Revenue Service. The Canadian government has shared more than 1.6 million Canadian banking records with the U.S. government, starting with a controversial information sharing agreement in 2014. On-screen disclaimer, according to CBC News. In 2016 and again in 2017, the Canada Revenue Agency provided the IRS with information on 600,000 Canadian bank accounts each year. That's a sharp increase from the 300,000 records shared in 2015 and the 150,000 records shared in 2014, the year the sharing began. These numbers don't necessarily correspond to the number of people affected. Some people may have more than one bank account, while some joint accounts could have more than one account holder, including people who don't hold U.S. citizenship. Among the items of Canadian bank account information being shared with the U.S. are the names and addresses of account holders, account numbers, account balances or values, and information about certain payments such as interest, dividends, and proceeds of disposition. The information transfer is the result of a controversial information sharing agreement between Canada and the U.S. negotiated in the wake of the American government's adoption of the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. The act, adopted in a bid to curb offshore tax evasion, obliges foreign financial institutions to report information about accounts held by people who could be subject to U.S. taxes. The Canadian government argued that negotiating the information sharing agreement would be better than forcing Canadian banks to deal directly with the IRS. Under the agreement, Canadian financial institutions send information on accounts held by clients with U.S. indicia, including a current U.S. residence, a U.S. post office box, a U.S. telephone number, or any signatory with a U.S. address. The Federal Court of Canada heard a constitutional challenge of the information sharing agreement in Vancouver. Those who challenge the agreement argue that it violates Section 7, 8, and 15 of Canada's Charter of Rights, which protect Canadians from violations of their right to life, liberty, and security, unreasonable search and seizure, and discrimination against those who hold U.S. as well as Canadian citizenship. In its submission to the court, the plaintiffs argue that some of the people whose banking records have been shared with the IRS may not be subject to U.S. taxes. If you have any questions about taxes, including international, business, or personal, call the tax experts at Freeman Tax Law. We have 16 offices throughout the United States to serve you. Our toll-free phone number is 1-855-935-5949.